State Assemblyman for July, Datuk Sri Wan Rosdi Wan Ismail has been sworn in as the new Pahang Menteri Besar to head the state's Barisan Nasional Pakatan Harapan government. Datuk Sri Wan Rosdi received the instrument of appointment and took his oath of office before Pahang Regent Tengku Hassanal Ibrahim Alam Shah Al Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al Mustafa Billah Shah at the Balairong Seri Istana Abu Bakar in Pekan this morning. The oath-taking ceremony today puts an end to the uncertainty surrounding the new state government after ending up the 15th general election, GE15, with a hung state assembly for the first time. BN only secured 16 seats in the state, while Perikatan Nasional won 17. PH has 8 seats. Datuk Sri Wan Rosdi was named the 14th Pahang Menteri Besar after the general election in 2018, replacing former Pelangai Assemblyman Tan Sri Adnan Yaakob, who had served as the Pahang Menteri Besar since 25th May 1999. In GE15, Datuk Sri Wan Rosdi retained the July state seat for a fifth term with a 6,983 majority. Malaysia remains committed and reaffirmed its unwavering support and profound solidarity to the Palestine people and their long-standing struggle. Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim, in his Twitter message, said he had reaffirmed Malaysia's commitment to Hamas leader Khalid Mashal when the latter called him on Saturday. Before receiving a call from Khalid, former Prime Minister of the Palestinian National Authority, Ismail Haniyeh, had also made a video call. Apart from congratulating Datuk Sri Anwar on his appointment as the country's 10th Prime Minister, Ismail also praised the dedication and commitment of the Malaysian people to ensure a smooth, democratic and peaceful transition of the leadership.
Shukran ya akhi, jazakallah khairan to you and jazakumullah khairan to all the brothers. As I said, this is not my victory, this is also the victory of the Palestinians and the Ummah, and we will work together inshallah to redeem the lost image and also role of the Ummah.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister has decided to use whatever vehicle is available at the office for daily use and rejected a Mercedes S600. Datuk Sri Anwar, through a post on Facebook, said the decision was made as he did not want any new expenses to be incurred. Datuk Sri Anwar previously announced that he would reduce unnecessary expenses in his administration. The Premier previously had also reiterated that he will not take a salary as the Prime Minister. Malaysia and Brunei Darussalam will assess the progress of existing cooperation while exploring new potential to improve relations and cooperation that can benefit both countries. This will be discussed at a meeting between the Sultan of Brunei, Sultan Hassanal Bolkiah, who will be in Malaysia for a special visit today, and Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim. The Brunei monarch will be the first foreign leader to call on the newly appointed Malaysian Prime Minister. According to Wisma Putra, Datuk Sri Anwar will also host a luncheon for Sultan Hassanal Bolkiah, who will be accompanied by Prince Abdul Mateen Bolkiah and his entourage. Sultan Hassanal Bolkiah's last visit to Kuala Lumpur was between 4th to 6th March 2019. Malaysia and Brunei Darussalam have a special relationship that has been established for a long time through a common heritage, culture and human relations. Brunei Darussalam is Malaysia's 30th largest trading partner in 2021 and the 6th largest in ASEAN, with total trade amounting to 8.03 billion ringgit. A businessman suffered 100,000 ringgit of losses after filling in a form through a link he received on WhatsApp application. Padawan Police Chief Superintendent Abang Zainal Abidin Abang Ahmad revealed that the link was a method of obtaining victims' information through their WhatsApp content. The victim, who is a local man, filled in his personal and banking information in the link he received, and he was instructed to make payment, but it did not go through. However, upon checking his bank account statement, the victim found that the money in his account was transferred to a third-party account. Superintendent Abang Zainal said investigations on cases using Android Package Kit APK modus operandi revealed that scammers used social media websites to advertise their products or services. Victims then will be instructed to install application before filling in their personal information and download APK files sent through social messaging apps such as WhatsApp. The police also detected that the application replaced a short messaging system on the victim's smartphone. Hence, the public is reminded to not be tricked into the latest online scam method through APK files, which allows scammers to hack their bank accounts. Children's Day should be an effective starting point to acknowledge, promote and celebrate children's rights. The Prime Minister's wife, Datuk Seri Dr. Wan Azizah Wan Ismail, said it should be translated into efficient action and debates that ultimately become the basis for a more prosperous life for children. In her speech when officiating the National Children's Day Celebration 2022, she said efforts to improve the well-being of the children need to be coordinated by all parties, starting with the family unit, the community and the country, because they must always be protected. The former Deputy Prime Minister also called on government agencies to establish close cooperation through the sharing of resources and data to improve efficiency in service delivery related to the interest of children. At the event, she also presented the Hang Tuah Award to an 8-year-old student, Muhammad Danish Raikal Muhammad Firdaus, for bravery after saving his siblings who were trapped in a fire on the 29th of June. Riots erupt in Brussels over Belgium loss to Morocco in the World Cup. Stay tuned. Police used water cannon and tear gas after coming under attack from football supporters who brought havoc to the centre of Brussels following Morocco's shock 2-0 World Cup win over Belgium in Qatar. Dozens of fans smashed shop windows, threw fireworks and torched vehicles. Police said that 11 people had been arrested, with one remaining in custody. Even before the end of the match, dozens of people, including some wearing hoodies, sought confrontation with the police, which compromised public safety. A spokeswoman said fans were armed with sticks and a journalist was injured in the face by fireworks. Around 100 police officers were mobilized, while residents were warned to avoid certain areas of the city centre. Metro stations were closed and streets sealed off to limit the spread of the violence. Belgium is home to around 500,000 people of Moroccan descent. Hundreds of people took to the streets in China's major cities to protest against the country's zero-COVID policy in a rare outpouring of public anger against the state. Now, China's hardline virus strategy is stoking public frustration, with many growing weary of snap lockdowns, lengthy quarantines and mass testing campaigns. A deadly fire on Thursday in Urumqi, the capital of northwest China's Xinjiang region, has become a fresh catalyst for public anger, with many blaming COVID lockdowns for hampering rescue efforts. On Sunday night, at least 400 people gathered on the banks of a river in the capital Beijing for several hours, with the crowd singing the national anthem and listening to speeches, while on the other side of the canal bank, a line of police cars waited. In downtown Shanghai, China's biggest metropolis, police have clashed with groups of protesters as officers tried to move people away from the site of an earlier demonstration on Wulumuqi Street, named after the Mandarin for Urumqi. Multiple people were arrested as officers told demonstrators to leave the area. In the central megacity of Wuhan, where the coronavirus first emerged, multiple live streams that were quickly censored showed crowds walking through the streets, cheering and filming on their phones. Footage of protests allegedly taken in major cities Guangzhou and Chengdu was also spreading online Sunday night, but AFP was unable to independently verify the videos. China reported 39,506 domestic COVID-19 cases Sunday, a record high but tiny compared to caseloads in the West at the height of the pandemic. Now, thousands of Kurds have protested in the Syrian city of Qamishli against days of deadly Turkish cross-border strikes targeting Kurdish groups in the country's northeast. Demonstrators brandished photos of people killed during recent strikes in the semi-autonomous region and claimed that they were victims of eradication. After a three-day lull, Turkish fighter jets heavily bombed Kurdish-controlled areas north of Aleppo early on Sunday, according to the Britain-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, a war monitor. A separate Turkish drone strike killed 5 Syrian government soldiers near Tal Rifat, also north of Aleppo, the observatory added, reporting an exchange of shelling between Kurdish combatants and Turkish forces and their Syrian proxies. The Turkish strikes come after a 13 November bombing in Istanbul that killed 6 people and wounded 81. Ankara blamed the attack on the Kurdistan Workers' Party (PKK), which it and its Western allies consider a terrorist group. Turkey alleges that Syrian Kurdish fighters are the PKK's allies. However, Kurdish groups deny any involvement in the Ankara blast. Emergency workers stepped up efforts yesterday to find 11 people missing on the southern Italian holiday island of Ischia, a day after a landslide caused by torrential rain devastated a small town. Rescuers continued to search for the missing with the aid of rescue dogs and helicopters. As of yesterday, the official death toll still stood at 1. In the aftermath, several buildings could be seen smashed by the landslide, which had engulfed the town. Dozens of houses were destroyed, trees uprooted, and cars swept into the sea. The local authorities have urged residents to stay home in order to avoid hindering emergency services. Torrential rain hit the port of Casamicchiola Terme on Saturday, one of the 6 small towns on the island, in the early hours, triggering flooding and bringing down buildings. With a dense population also comprised of tourists from all around the world, Ischia is a volcanic island which lies some 30 kilometers from Naples. It draws visitors to its thermal baths and picturesque coastline. Heavy snow and icefall hit northwest China's Xinjiang Uyghur and North China's Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region in recent days as a cold wave grips large parts of the country. Heavy snowfall hit Xinjiang's northern areas for several days, including Altai Prefecture, Yili Kazakh Autonomous Prefecture and Taching Prefecture. The cold front caused adverse effects on transportation, agriculture and animal husbandry production, prompting local departments to initiate emergency response. By 8 a.m. yesterday, a blizzard and massive snowstorm struck the eastern part of Yili, Taching and Shihezi city. Large parts of Xinjiang's northern parts saw temperatures drop to 8 to 16 degrees Celsius, and the temperature slumped 16 to 30 degrees Celsius in the northern part of Taching, Altai and Changjihui Autonomous Prefecture. Over the past few days, as snow continued to hit Taching, the local sanitation department had dispatched more than 80 snow clearance vehicles onto the city's major roads. As temperatures plummet, clusters of icefall jutted out prominently along cliff edges in Acacia Lake at the Ali River National Forest Park in Inner Mongolia. Now, Cubans went to the polls yesterday to cast their ballots as the country elected municipal legislative bodies, despite the opposition's calls to abstain. Voters showed up at polling stations in Havana since early in the morning, including President Miguel Diaz-Canel and the Foreign Affairs Minister Bruno Rodriguez. Cuba's opposition alleged its candidates had been largely prevented from taking part in municipal elections. In a last-ditch effort to leave their mark, they called on Cubans to stay home, annul, or leave ballots blank. Cuba's opposition had been gutted since the anti-government protests in July last year. Authorities tried and jailed hundreds following the rallies for crimes ranging from disorderly conduct to vandalism and sedition, putting a chilling effect on dissent. Others allege being forced into exile. Nearly 26,746 candidates are running for 12,427 ward positions in the election, the only part of the electoral process that is contested publicly and with direct participation by ordinary Cubans. Campaigning is prohibited in Cuba, and candidates for posts are nominated at neighborhood meetings based on their personal merits, not policy positions. Now, retailers across Europe usually experience high footfall in the Black Friday shopping frenzy. But as this year's surging prices have eroded real wages and compromised living standards, consumers tend to stay more cautious about their spending. Inflation in Britain rose by 11.1% in October, hitting a fresh 41-year high. After taking inflation into account, average regular pay fell by 2.7% between July and September, the largest fall in growth since comparable records began in 2001. Though spending in the UK is still expected by some researchers to increase by around 0.8% over the weekend, including on Black Friday and Cyber Monday, this figure masks the impact of inflation on volumes. On Friday noon, shopper numbers at British retailers were more than 22% below pre-COVID-19 pandemic levels. Across Europe, the outlook is not rosy either, as inflation runs high and the energy crisis may last beyond winter. All these are weighing down consumers, dealing a huge blow to household budgets and casting a cloud over shopping events. No quick improvement is in sight, as inflation is expected to decline in 2023, but will likely remain high at 7% in the European Union and 6.1% in the Eurozone. Wrapping up updates at noon today with a reminder of our headline. Datuk Sri Wan Rosdi sworn in as Pahang Menteri Besar leading BNPH state government. Don't forget to tune in again at news at 10 tonight on saluran Berita RTM. You can also catch us online at RTM Click's website and mobile app. Till then, I'm Mohana Priya. Goodbye and have a great day.